us live. We'll have some people pouring in. So I guess before we jump into any meat, maybe we give people 5 minutes to join along. I believe we have some members from the Koii team joining today to chat about some stuff.
Very
But
nice.
I will have to. I mean, I'm gonna see if I can look into that right now. Yeah. Hopefully, Pablo from the Koii team and Laura from the Koii team can join in. But we'll give them a little bit of time, and while everything gets going up, we can just have a casual chat. Oh, wait, I do see in chat. Did Melvis go missing? Melvis didn't go missing. He is just working tirelessly. But he's definitely he's a good candidate for a happy hour. So I can see if we can maybe get him on for next time.
God, I was afraid you were going to say he was a good candidate for going missing.
Oh, well, you know what? I probably led down that line. He was on the MEXC AMA yesterday. Yeah, he tends to do a lot of those ones. All right, I jotted down a note. Can Melvis be on the next happy hour? Um, so I'll be sure to pass that along his desk.
I think
Yeah. So
that's
have
about
have.
the limit. That's about the limit of our organizational planning for these, right? By
Write it
design, you
down.
might add.
Yeah, exactly. We keep these casual. We keep them conversational. And yeah, we just kind of have fun and chill. As the audience quickly grows, though. Wow, yeah, we get 20 people in. Is there a recording um of the happy hour or the MEXC AMA? Or both, maybe? I'm not quite sure. I believe that some of the happy hours have been recorded. Bob maybe can answer in chat if this one's or being recorded. I'm not sure, unfortunately. Um, the MEXC AMA, I have no idea if that was recorded, but you probably could get more information on X. Um, I can check our announcements channel to see if we posted it. It doesn't seem like we posted it in our announcements channel here. Oh, no, wait. Join the MEXC Koi AMA. It's an X space, so it should have been recorded by default. So you should be able to go in there and revisit the X space. If you go to the Koi Community announcements channel and just scroll up, we have an announcement that was made just 2 days ago. You'll be able to find the X space there, and then you'll be able to hear all about what uh, Melvis said in the AMA. I'm sure there was some really insightful questions, and thank you for that link that was just dropped in chat. I'm sure he had some incredibly insightful answers to some of the more difficult and pressing questions that the community wanted answered.
So while we're waiting, Avi, you and I have chatted a bunch, but I don't know if I've ever asked you, are you on the same vein as Al? Do you tend to think about the deeper philosophical purpose behind this space and all that's done in it? Or are you more of a problem solver, or just trying to find practical solutions? Are you both?
Yeah, I think what I do is definitely a mixture of both. I mean, if you go to my Twitter, the very first link, the pinned tweet there is a philosophical article I sort of wrote, and
Oh,
it has to do with Web3. So I definitely have a strong you know I have before even Web3, I have a strong background in philosophy. So I come to Web3 or I've come to professional Web3. I guess I've been in Web3 for a while, but um, I come as a professional to Web3 with a large background and body of philosophical knowledge. So I do tend to get lost in the weeds when I talk about it, but yeah, no, I definitely think about that stuff a lot. That being said, of course, I also am a very practical problem solver here at Koii.
How the hell do you and Al get anything done? Like, both of you are so curious about like all the ramifications surrounding everything. It must be painful at times when you want to really kind of explore the deeper meaning behind what you're doing, but you've got a deadline and a couple fires to put out, and you just got to constantly be tabling those sort of discussions and focus on the practical.
Yeah, I think the best way to approach that problem is to take it one step at a time. Um, when you have this wide lens, you got a wide scope, and you can look, and you're looking at all these angles of like, is this ethically correct? You know, is this something valid to pursue? Is this worthwhile for the community, or is it a scam? Is it shill? Are we just doing it, you know, because it's what other people are doing? Are we doing it because it actually matters? And what does, you know, all that mean? What is the implication there? It makes it really hard to plan out a really grand future because you're always trying to pivot, um, and you're always trying to ride a line that other people don't, and that means you're, you know, you're going into the woods, and you're blazing your own trail. So I think that really the best way to approach it is take it one step at a time, because if you try and just figure out the long march of it, you'll run into so many issues that I think you'll just end up getting off trail anyway.
Mm,
But when you take it one step at a time, it's really easy to say, is this next action, is this right? Does this make sense? And if this one individual action, I guess in a vacuum, if you will, you know, makes sense, then I think that's what makes it okay, right? If we're
yeah,
not,
that makes sense. Because the
yeah,
practical example I wanted to give was there's a new administration in the US. We won't get into politics here, but as a result of that, the SEC is getting, I'll say, dismantled or radically transformed. Um, Regulations, they're being defanged. Um, that doesn't mean that 4 years from now, the pendulum's not gonna swing the other way around and they're gonna come back with a vengeance. How does all of that play into your long-term plans when you're trying to build something new that, at least on some level, has some interdependencies with the decisions they make? I mean, I know you're not fintech, but you're also, you're dealing with a platform that supports fintech. So,
like, how do you're asking, like, how do we maneuver like regulatory bodies?
how do you do long-term planning when you have like shifting messaging from like some of the world's largest regulatory bodies that tend to be heavy-handed? Do you just sort of for the best, or do you factor that into your planning? Does it not matter one way or the other?
I'd say for the most part, Chris, it doesn't matter one way or the other for Koi.
Yeah.
Koi's pretty much distinct from all those things because we're more in the AI and compute category. So we're not trying to build the new world currency or something like that, which is what you would see from Libra or, for example, Solana. Um, One thing I would say is the opening of regulatory stuff on AI. It's going to be really, really good for Koi. This week we had the 24/7 Builder task released, and so that allows anybody to run an AI code builder on their computer. So there's a lot of this kind of stuff that I think is pretty unique to Koi, where we have a big advantage, and that's where I think a little bit loosening regulatory scrutiny is going to help a lot to try to accelerate things and get towards better outcomes.
Okay. Um, Now, at the same time, are you following the AI legislation in the EU?
Pretty closely, but not sure what about it that you're referring to.
Oh, it seems to be as the US loosens up, the EU kind of tightens up. So I don't know how that plays in your decision making.
Yeah, I mean the EU just has their typical like GDPR type stuff. Typically, they're trying to avoid the US poaching their markets, But the key thing with Koii is Koii runs locally, right? So Koii is not something where there's a US company that is trying to spread this to the rest of the world. This is something where each person's individual computer and their node, that's where the compute power is coming from, right? So that's each person on Koii has the control of their own agent.
That's
So it's a
fantastic.
very different thing from a regulatory. The regulators actually, I think, prefer this kind of a structure. So there isn't a system where the regulators are super worried about this, I would say.
I was just having a chat the other day with somebody that did blockchain for a very large company, and they're in a panic right now over the EU AI regulations because violations can cost 7% of total company revenue. And the fact that you don't have to worry about that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, wow. That's high. That's a high number. I
Yeah,
didn't realize it was quite that high. I knew it was is an extreme punishment. And I mean, they've always taken this stuff seriously. But I think that we move forward in a way that definitely, as Al mentioned, sort of complements the way they think for the most part. I think Koii is also a unique structure that's a lot, you know, because inherently, at the end of the day, we are a blockchain. We're a ledger, right? That's actually a really efficient system for moving and maneuvering and tracking anything. So I'm not too worried on that front. I think the exciting things, or the things that are sort of on my mind, when I talk about like the real horizon for like regulatory stuff, is sort of like AI and what we're allowed to do with AI. And that's why right now I'm like so motivated to work on AI things. It's because it's the Wild West where you can do and try anything and you can try and make it work. I think there will be a future where AI is like heavily regulated, what you're allowed to do and then produce and all this stuff. I think that might be coming down the line. It's not a world I want, but I think that it might come. And in that, I think that one, a decentralized space to then play around with AI, in novel ways to really explore them and advance them. I think that's an important space to have. I want Core to be that space, but I also think that right now is the most exciting time to work on this kind of stuff because you're not too beholden to any of that, right? I'm not like we're trying to do cool things. We're trying to write code, right, with AI. But ultimately, that's a huge superpower. That's a one up to all of society, right? If everybody can just spin up these AI builders and you can start writing code and it can be really good, you know, imagine the productivity that everybody would have coming out of that, right? Like that'd be insane. Um, I think that opportunity is right now, and that's what excites me. That's where I want to be. That's why I'm not too worried about the regulators.
well, not only that, but like a critical success now by any company, and it would be great if that company was Koi, is going to help set future conversation around AI regulation, right? So it's sort of like you see a meteor coming toward Earth. Do you want to nudge it, 2 years in advance, or wait for the last week? You want 2 years in advance, right?
Yeah. Well, absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
always been the model here. Yeah. Um, you can take two approaches on this, right? Like a lot of things typically, if you have a big bet and it pays off later, typically, and you have to make the bet early. So, like, I'd say most of what we've been doing at Koi is setting the foundation for what we would say is the ethical and the correct way to run AI models. So, they should run at the edge on people's personal computers, and they should actually reward people for providing compute and also for providing feedback to the model. Because ultimately, like most people might not realize this, but that's how models learn: is you have to actually have feedback from a human being that gives context. Um, I think typically our approach at Koi though has been that if you aren't growing the model, if you're not actually like the one running OpenAI or something like that, then the only way you can get a piece of this is you have to be one of the ones implementing the model and using it. Um, and our goal over the next probably 2 or 3 months is going to be to continue giving people more and more things that they can do with AI on their computer. So the first thing that we tried was Astrolink, which is basically distributed guerrilla marketing using AI. And so Astrolink is actually a really sophisticated product from the standpoint of like nobody's really ever been able to do anything like that before, where we have a crowd of AI agents that are actually working together. Um, the next layer of this is the builders that Avi's been talking about, and then the final layer of this is going to probably be software that allows you to trade your tokens. And so the combination of all three of those things is now we can hype something up, we can build it, and then we can also help actually move the token price around something. And these are pieces that, like, individually might seem kind of innocuous, but when you put them together, they create a really powerful framework for kind of the future of these distributed systems as we would think about it. And that's what we've always been working towards at Koii, and it's really nice to see at this point that the rest of the world's kind of catching up. Honestly, I would say the EU regulation and a lot of the recent shifts have been really more about trying to preserve individual sovereignty in these systems. And I think people are pretty the world is a little bit afraid that you're going to have either Sam Altman or Elon Musk or some superpower that takes control of everything. And it's something that we've been working towards for a long time. Like you said, we've been nudging this meteor. I started in 2015 looking at this problem. So it's been 10 years for me, just focused almost exclusively on this. And I think most of the rest of our team have also kind of been in this headspace for a long time, and that's sort of why we've ended up here. The trick now is just we have to keep providing more and more interesting ways for people to get in, and then making sure that more and more people try the node as well. Which, if anybody hasn't been sending out your referral codes, we're giving out some bonuses for that next week, so please send those out.
So if you're creating something highly innovative in the Web3 space that solves problems that have never been solved before, are you running into messaging issues getting those benefits communicated to people in non-Web3 spaces, be they users or investors or other companies? Is there still that giant hurdle of just getting the common everyday person who isn't here to understand these benefits?
I think on the consumer side, people don't have that big of a problem with it. Actually, the leapfrog isn't that hard. It's more like, if somebody doesn't already have a crypto wallet, then they're probably going to have a hard time buying the token. Um, the other side of it, though, is for the non-Web3 companies. I think that's where we see the least buy-in, and that's typically because a lot of these guys are like 50, and uh, they come from the background where, the way that Silicon Valley runs is you try to take over a market and then cut everybody else out of it. So think of Uber, right? Uber is push button get car, and they want to control push button get car forever. And they want to be the only button that you ever push to get a car. And not only that, they also want to be the only button you push to do just about anything, to be honest, right? So companies like that and that mindset tend to be a lot harder to work with because they want to be a monopoly, whereas our entire model is anti-monopoly, pro-sovereignty. And I think this has kind of been the thing with Bitcoin for a long time. It's does Bitcoin go to a big bank and try to sell them on being part of Bitcoin? Not really, right? They're sort of alternatives to that model. And so that's sort of how we see this growing is the community around something like this is what creates it. That's certainly what happened with Ethereum. Ethereum didn't grow because large enterprises adopted it. Ethereum grew because enough community members joined Ethereum and then didn't want to let it die, and found value from being there every day. And so that's kind of how we're approaching this with Koii, and we would like to see our own community be independent. But the good news is there's a lot of ways that you can make money if you can have an AI that either does social media posts or is able to write software with your computer, right? And so that's a lot of really interesting passive income. And I think the big Web2 companies probably won't even know that there's an AI developer involved. They'll just, they'll hire somebody and that person will be writing code using an AI on their computer. Or realistically, they'll hire a group of people without realizing that it's a group, which is the really cool part.
I imagine as the EU continues to push digital product passports, which eventually almost every product is going to require a digital twin to track information, communications, all that stuff. All of that requires digitization in Web3 if you're going to be using blockchain as your official ledger. So all of these companies that you talk about that are maybe resistant or uninterested in investing in Web3 are going to be dragged there sooner rather than later. So there's
I would say it's more of a present tense. They are being dragged there. There's no
yeah,
future tense there. People are already being dragged into Web3. It's already happening very quickly.
I'm
Especially
also
actually in the AI sector as well. It seems to be converging quite quickly.
I'm working with a company that's trying to do that in conservative markets, and a lot of these companies are waiting for the very last minute. And we're actually trying to make the argument that getting ahead of the game is good for everyone. Um, but yeah, I do imagine that the tech companies they already see the writing on the wall. I do see a hand in the audience. I don't know how. I don't know that we have ever successfully brought somebody up on stage to ask a question. I don't know if that's the procedure we're following.
I think that's the light, and they did. I think they posted their question.
Okay.
I just invited him on
Perfect.
stage, and he is
Oh,
here.
nice.
Hi,
Hello.
the light. How are you
Hey,
doing?
how's it going?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So just have a very small question. So I talked to Bob before, like today or so, and so I joined Coin like I don't know November last year, and I think the project is really cool. But for example, I just know the Sono project, which is quite cool with the sound listening. And then in order to really efficient using the application, you need to have to basically like 6,000 coins for minting and things like that. And honestly, I run 4 nodes in my IP and asking more, but that's a different problem. But then I couldn't have enough coin to basically run the minting and then have the support the second layer project. And I'm wondering if we have some kind of pooling where you basically have a spare coin somewhere, and then if you have a really active node runner, and then they would like to support the second project, and then you basically can loan them a certain coin. So basically you do something like a bank. You don't have to send to them, but you pay for the creator of the project. But the node runner, we had the benefit in the long run, and then after the certain time they can pay back for the for the coin owner, like you guys. I mean, this would help a lot because I think for the people who just new to coin, first of all, it's rather difficult to find coin. You have to go to the market and buy it. That's fine. But I also know so many people just would like to use their computer and earning a certain amount of coin. And by spending 6,000, that would be a lot. It's just one example. I'm talking about many other examples. If they would like to support, probably you have to, I don't know, minting something from the project, and then from there, beside you have the benefit, you also support the second layer project so they can grow and have something like this. I think that would be quite good for both node runner if they want to run for a long time with the project, and it's also good for the second layer project, which is new, like the guy with the Sono token. Yeah, it's just an
Yeah,
idea. Yeah.
we've definitely looked at some DeFi rails like that. We also will
Mhm,
have a decentralized exchange within Koii, so people will be able to buy and sell tokens. At some point,
mhm,
if there's a fee inside of an app like that, the point is that you're buying the tokens to be able to spend them. But
mhm,
definitely, as the network continues to grow, we're going to have more and more ways for people to earn Koii directly. So
mhm.
if you look at the recent Prometheus Builder task, which should be announced today, is going to have a whole bunch of rewards just in Koii tokens. So you can get
Ah,
probably
mhm,
100 Koii per day from that one.
mhm.
What is the thing inside the Sonos app that is 3,000 Koii?
It's the minting. So you mint one pass, which is 1,000, and another one which is 5,000. I don't remember the name right now.
Yeah,
Let me get
the minor pass.
exactly
And yeah,
the minor pass. Yes, 1,000, and another one is 5,000 for and if you buy 1,000, you basically can mining directly Sono in the application without running the node. So they have a Telegram application running in parallel, which is reward you also the relic, and the relic can be converted into the Sono, and the Sono is the second layer, which is you also own, similar way as if you run the task. Exactly. Alex just post an image for the information. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to do that is going to be probably the bonus task on the Koii node. So it's going to
Yeah. Yeah.
be the best,
Yeah.
simplest way.
Yeah.
The bonus task should give you lots of Koii towards that end very quickly. It's not going to give you 5,000 right away, but you will get closer to it. The other option, though, and like this is honestly the thing that's going to help a lot right now, is if anybody has any desire to have Koii tokens, You can buy them on the market. It's not super hard. So Gate and MEXC both support buying tokens directly.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's honestly
understand.
a really
I'm
good time to
yeah,
buy Koii right now, right?
yeah,
I think
absolutely. I'm
5,000
absolutely.
tokens is like that's like $10 or something. So
Yeah.
not
Okay,
super hard.
just asking because here I'm raising the concern because this would kind of like, I don't know, the long-term support for any kind of the second layer project for the starting point, and you want to attract more and more people who would like to support Koii or running the Koii in their application and support the second layer as well. I'm not saying for, I don't know, a long term, but I think we need some kind of still some kind of, I don't know, pushing, like attractive the people have a certain benefit so that they can start to use it a lot, and then they can also invite the friend to also do the similar thing, because without the benefit you can really explain. I mean, the normal people, they think about the real benefit, to be honest. All kind of discussion with the technology and things like that. For me, I'm okay because I'm basically a developer, so I understand. So it's quite attractive. But if I talk to a regular friend, so if he does something like he doesn't have any technology in mind, and then he just do some sort of a waiter somewhere, he has a spare computer, things like that. And then if you explain to him technology, that would kind of difficult. But if you explain to them kind of economic based information, and I have some kind of loan, and then you can borrow it, and then you do investment and you support the second project, and then when you earn more, you pay back. Thing that's irregular, quite simple. That it can be attractive for the people. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
just an
speaking of
idea,
stuff
yeah.
as well, like we're very happy to provide grants as well if people want to build these kinds of like lending protocols on top of Koii. It's something that we'd really like to see on the network. So if
Mhm.
that's something you're interested in, like we can definitely get you a grant and get you into Koii Ocean. I can definitely see
Mhm.
how the application would work. I think the trick though again is like if the reason the Sonos team is asking for a couple thousand Koii is because they need revenue, then their goal is to make sure that you guys pay for that, or that you're
Mhm.
willing to pay for it. And so, if it's not worth buying tokens, then it's probably
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
taking their business.
Mhm.
But I would really like to see a loan product on Koii. Can you talk a little bit more about what that would look like?
Yeah. Okay. So thanks a lot. That's it from my side. Yeah. Ciao.
Can you talk a little bit more about the loan product? I'd be really interested to see
Me?
what that would look
Yeah,
like.
I mean, it just really an idea because it's come directly from my needs. So I mean, let's imagine something. You go to the bank. Yeah, I mean, you want to build a house and you do not have some kind of enough money to do it, and then you go to the bank. You have something else, and then you give it to the bank, and then based on your trustworthy level, the bank can approve maybe a little bit more than what you give in. I mean, I can imagine like I can take all my second layer off my off bird VIP and all the stuff. I put it into I don't know, a storage, and then I take out the coin. Something you are doing with the DEX, but this is kind of loan. It's loan system. It's not really trading. Yeah, you just put it in, and you allow to take a certain amount of coin, and then you do in somewhere, and you say, okay, after 3 months I give back coin to this kind of storage, and then I pay a small interest. I don't know, 3% papers, 5% back, and then you're doing a certain kind of not really trading, because trade means you lose it, but you do not want to lose your second layer coin. You just want to temporarily put it in there, and then later on you take it back for a later use it. And then, of course, if you open in this way, definitely many people would like to still have the second layer token, but they would like to also have the certain amount of coin quickly. And then this kind of solution can be good for everybody, because you still have your second layer after you pay back enough coin when you borrow it before, plus a small interest, and then you can use coin for any other second layer project which is you love. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
no, I
yeah.
really like this actually. Do you know about the Koii improvement proposals?
Sorry?
Do you know about the Koii improvement proposals, KIPs? I'll send the
No.
thing here. One sec.
Mm.
This is an open source repo. The whole point of this is if the community votes on something like this, we'll allocate a whole bunch of ecosystem funding towards helping build it.
Mhm.
We can't, Koii,
Improvement proposal. Okay.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Koii itself is we're a pretty small team, and we work 24/7 to get the stuff that we have out.
Uh-huh.
But we're very open to having the ecosystem actually build additional products on top of Koii. And so this is something where, like, even if you're not personally up to building it right now, it's something where we can give you a hand. Avi is actually our head of DevRel and can also help you get access to grants. And so if this is something that you're interested in, I'd really encourage you to put a proposal into the list, and then we can actually allocate some funding towards this.
Cool. I didn't know it. Okay.
Yeah. For those that aren't quite following the Koii improvement proposals, I put the link into the chat for the Koii community stage. Anybody who wants to can actually open an issue there on the GitHub, and you can leave an issue, and then if the community votes on it, then we'll allocate a whole bunch of ecosystem funding towards it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it from my side. Yeah.
Be happy
Thank
to
you.
see you and some more activity in the builders chat area too. Like if you ever want to pop in there and reach out and just start ideating something, I'd love to just chat back and forth and help you make a plan. Sounds like a really solid product.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much for coming up, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, this is great. This is exactly what this meeting is designed for. And I encourage anybody else in the audience, if you want to participate in a similar discussion, don't be shy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some sort of loan protocol would actually be like an incredibly valuable service for the ecosystem at large. I could see that being a way to kickstart the next level of sort of DeFi rails, right? If you have a loan program, then in concept, if there's enough liquidity available in that loan program, then you can launch some really huge projects, assuming that you get approved. And if the community's powering that, and there's a voting mechanism, like wow, I think that'd be really cool. Like a really powerful open source crowd powered, like crowd build, crowd funded, crowd sourced mechanism. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I love about Web3. To answer your question right at the beginning, what's my overall outlook on Web3, and sort of maybe from a philosophical angle of sorts, but it's that. That's what I love. It's that we can truly. There's mechanisms now that really enable this next level of collaboration, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I've noticed in Web3 is once you sift through the chaff and you find the people who you align with and whose intentions are good and who actually follow through, they'll stick with you from project to project. You're basically building your life posse here that you're going to rely on over and over and over again, which is kind of new to me. You can't really do that in many industries.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that for sure. Absolutely. I see that. I see that in chat. Al posted a Solana forking protocol saying maybe we can fork this. And for the devs in chat that don't know, Solana is, or sorry, Koii is a fork of Solana. So a lot of those Solana products, it's not too hard to port them over to Koii and then to get them running. And then you basically have your own entire service that you can spin up on an L1. And it doesn't take as much work as you'd think, especially if they're already open source and they're already built. Open source is the key, but yes, I just wanted to reiterate that there will be a recording. Sorry, just a message in chat there. we are recording this happy hour, and the recording will be available at the end, and I'll make sure to get the link to anyone who needs it. Just make sure to ping me. Yeah, and Allbridge is finishing with their integrations, so you can expect that to be soon online very soon. As Al mentioned in chat, we can't really promise any deadlines. Yeah, promote your product. Catch, if you're around and you want to jump on stage, feel free to promote. Feel free to come up. I'm just reading through chat here. It's Hugo, phase 1, collect underpants. Phase 2, question mark. Phase 3, profit. Ah, catcher in a taxi. Well, you know what? Still, good. Thanks for joining us in that case, for a nice
Absolutely.
chill. Yeah.
That's dedication.
So Kris, what do you think as a non-tech person, and sort of a not necessarily someone who has the same outlook as maybe Al or I would have as being on the core team. What do you think about the loan protocol? Is that like attractive to you? Do you think that'd be
Oh,
beneficial?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it kind of all goes back to the concept of a DAO to me, even though it might not be directly related. And when DAOs hit, they hit hard, but then in my mind kind of flopped because there wasn't enough, I guess I'll say institutional knowledge, or uh, people had the core of a good idea, but the mechanics of it just failed on a lot of levels. Not across the board, but for most. And so what do you do then? Well, you kind of break it into its component pieces, and you build those up before you can sort of revisit the grand idea. And one of those pieces was a meaningful way to get projects started, to get them funded, uh, to introduce some sort of democratic process to it, to spread the risk out, and to decouple from any sort of centralized control. And between Koi's platform and the protocol being discussed here, I think it hits all those high notes.
That's pretty cool. I'm glad to hear that. No, and I do agree. I think I like the point where Light was talking about how the sort of language of it is a little more approachable as well, than maybe the developer angle. And I'm DevRel here at Koii, right? I kind of think in the developer sphere and the developer angle. I'm not always as attuned with the retail audience, right? We have some wonderful people at Koii who are, particularly Bobnimus, who's here in the audience, kind of just recording and being ever present in the community. So it's nice to get that angle, that feedback of like, well, hey, like your messaging is good for devs. Actually, it seems like devs appreciate it, but we need to really hone in on the retail messaging, especially on sort of the dev side of things, which is a bit of an
Yeah.
interesting spin.
Well, half the world seems to speak tech, and the other half speaks money. A few
Right.
lucky souls can do both. So,
I'm gonna
um,
use that line actually. That's good. I like that.
so yeah, I think there's a lot of promise there, and this is why what a great first person to bring up on stage, because this is the sort of caliber conversation that I hope we'd have. I mean, that's not to say somebody with a budding idea that hasn't thought about it much doesn't have a place on stage, but it's nice to start with a heavy hitter, right? So,
Oh my gosh, always for
um,
sure.
and I really love that it was a respectful conversation, well thought out, because that's always the challenge, right? To keep the community positively focused and kind of herding cats in the right direction. So, yeah.
Yeah, I totally get it. Herding
Um,
cats.
Question for you guys. We have, I think, at this point announced the 24/7 builder for the VIPs. Is that out yet?
The 247 builder task. We have not announced that yet.
Okay. Do we want to talk a little bit about what's going on there? Because that's going to be a really exciting opportunity starting today.
For sure. Today, I believe, is going to be the launch of a new of the new 247 builders that we've kind of been talking about for I think just 3 weeks now. We've been talking about them here in the happy hours, and just a bit around in the X spaces. It's the 24/7 code writing builder. That's what we're releasing. And I talked about it at the beginning of, this happy hour here too. Imagine this world where, we could just spin up these AI devs and they could kind of do whatever we want. Well, the first step of that is here. We're calling it Prometheus. Here at Koii. And Prometheus because, Prometheus gave humanity fire. Koii is giving AI fire, or the equivalent of it, right? We're going to be telling this new story of what if we can level up AI from just this, sophisticated like language bot into something that can really engage and interact with the internet. So super exciting initiative. So there's going to be the Prometheus 247 builder task. If you go to our blog right now, you can actually find a little bit more information about what we're doing, what the initiative is, and a sort of short tutorial on how to get it started. We'll be updating that tutorial. There's just a few small minor things. Nothing's broken with it. There's just a few extra steps that might be worthwhile, to set up and add to the tutorial. But in general, you can go there right now and you can learn about the 247 builders. And if you're lucky, you can actually get in early and you can start running it yourself. So the idea for this initial version of the 247 builder is to have the most GitHub commits to one repo in a single day. So we're going to get as many of our nodes possible. We're going to get everyone together and we're going to run all of our versions of Prometheus on the node. We got to go to the blog. We'll have to grab the task ID from the blog. We'll be making an announcement in Discord and on X and stuff. So, if you're at work right now or you're in a taxi like Catches, don't worry. There'll be a reminder later on down the line. But grab that task ID from that blog, follow the instructions on how to get everything set up, and then start running Prometheus in your node. Or if you're like Light and you have 4 nodes, run Prometheus 4 times, give it a shot, see how it goes. We're in a beta and we're happy to stress test this task as much as possible. But if things go well, we might break the world record for the most commits to a GitHub repo. And for the non-tech people, what that means is we might break a world record for the most code pushed to an open source, source of code, right? So that's living somewhere on the internet, and we call that GitHub. Basically, that's where we put all our code. And if we can break the world record for the most amount of commits to that, I think that'd be huge. That'll put a lot of eyes on Koii. It'll grow the network. It'll give you guys Koii. There's a big rewards that are going to be associated with running the 247 builder. So, and if you get in early, there's even more rewards because the fewer people that are running the node, the bigger your share of the distribution. Over time, there's probably going to be a lot of people that join in. So I recommend getting in as early as possible. I can see Al posting a little bit about it in chat there too. So the sooner you get in, the sooner you start running it, the more rewards you'll get. And the faster you'll start contributing to what we think is going to be the explosion for Koii. This is what's going to really change the game. We're going to be that blockchain network that also has, AI that can write code. That's incredible.
So I think AI that write code doesn't maybe make sense for a lot of people, but basically what this means is that Koii will start iterating based on the number of nodes we have. And so this means that the amount of software Koii will be able to produce and the amount of improvements that we'll be able to make to the node will depend on how many nodes we get. And so as we get more nodes, we will be able to improve faster, which is the really exciting component here, because that means that the network should effectively auto-scale from here. Obviously, this is still in beta. This started out as a pet project of mine over the Christmas holidays. I spent like most of Well, as soon as I finished Christmas dinner with my family, then I spent probably the next week or so just grinding through this, kind of in parallel to when we were launching the network. Because as we were launching mainnet, there were times when there was nothing that I could do to make things go faster. So I just put all my effort into making kind of this autonomous builder kit, and then we handed it off to the dev team about 2 weeks ago, and they've really taken it from there. So things have been accelerating dramatically. And we heard from Laura last week, obviously, about this. But I think the key thing for everybody here is like, if you have an idea for a Koii task, this is the time to write down your idea, get it into a Koii improvement proposal, and then we will allocate funding to help you build it. And so that means that A, if you run that new task, you'll get bonus tokens from the bonus task, and then B, you'll be able to then launch a new task and a new token, which should be able to be built for you using the 24/7 builder. This is a little ways off still, but we're getting closer every day, and there's a significant amount of acceleration happening. So it's, a very good time to be involved in Koii.
Man, I never say stuff like this because I've always been here for the mission, but I wish I was in a place to go out and buy a boatload of Koii tokens right now. Because I'm looking at what you guys are building, and I think there's going to be several fortunes made off of this.
Oh, absolutely. I see someone in chat, Rosin, saying make a task similar to the grass project. I actually think that that's really feasible with Koii. If that's something you want to, go to the Koii improvement proposals, add, a task that's, similar to the grass project so that Koii can compete, and you can get a bunch of votes on that. I think, we'd be more than happy to throw some ecosystem funding that way. That sounds like a really fun project idea to me, and it's totally possible. I know for a fact it is. And
I
yeah,
like to see it.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was just saying, I'd like to see a Koii task that tracked data breaches of people's personal info. Every time I get on the news, I see a new data breach, and I lost track 10 years ago. Like,
Yeah, I'd appreciate that kind of service, that kind of database. I think that's a great improvement proposal. I'd go put it in there if I were you.
to be honest, and this is what I was hoping we could address in these talks once in a while, is I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, I'm comfortable using GPT. That's about the extent of things. So the idea of putting a proposal in for a non-tech person is a little on the daunting side. Even hearing some of like what Koii offers, I have a hard time visualizing what that will look like to a user. So you have tasks that do this, that, and that. Does that mean just it's always going to be running alongside the other tasks, looking indistinguishable from them? Will there ever be a separate app for any of these? Like, I really can't even visualize some of that stuff.
Yeah, I guess I'd say the first thing is that the improvement proposals can be written and submitted by absolutely anyone. You don't need to be a technical person to you just can go in. You can open up a new issue or a PR or whatever you'd like to do. And then you can just type in, here's my proposal, here's my improvement proposal. And then Koii, what we'll do is we'll discuss it. And we hope that the community will be, putting more eyes on these kind of programs too, so that we can make some more noise about it in the community. And if the community's loud enough about it and, it's a good idea and Koii thinks it's a good idea, then we can put some grant funding behind it. And then we can find the developers that want to build it. Because then these developers know, hey, 3,000 people in the community, for example, came behind this improvement proposal. Let's say it's, naming services right on Koii. Wow, that's so amazing. So Koii then puts up this grant behind it, and a developer says, well, all these people want this, and there's a grant to build it, and I get to be the developer that kind of owns it and maintains it, and I get to reap all the rewards that come with that. So it becomes a really good deal. So I think people like you getting engaged just to propose ideas is a really great way to get the developers thinking.
Well, I think one of my limitations too is I don't know what I don't know. I don't have a unless you guys have it and I haven't stumbled across it, I'd love a living document in lay terms about what Koii can do. For example, I just saw a request. I missed most of these, but to explain further what I was talking about, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I know the very basics, like I know that Koii can scrape, right? So you can scrape news feeds, you can find data breaches. I'm sure you can do far more than that, but as a layperson, I don't even know the questions to ask. So that's kind of an education communication like barrier for me.
Yeah, I think, Chris, the whole point of this, though, is that you're asking for a summary of an infinite world, right?
Right,
So that's
right.
not possible. That's the reason that people have like Bibles and things like that, is to kind of put a blanket over reality that makes more sense. Um, I think the key thing here is we're offering the opportunity for people to put their proposals into the Koi improvement proposals, and then once somebody puts a proposal in, even if it's a very basic proposal, there's no wrong answers here. If you put a really basic proposal in, then that creates the space for discussion where the community can try to help explore that idea further. Um, and that's when we will allocate ecosystem funding into a pool, and then that allows us to then, back developers to discover that idea further. So if there's something that you want to do with Koi that you think would be a good opportunity, even if it's very indirect or if there's still a lot of nuance to be discovered, that's what goes in the improvement proposals. And it doesn't have to be perfectly well thought out. It just needs to be written down once, and then from there, it allows the community to start discussing it. It allows Koi's team to start jumping in and clarifying things, and that's how we get to the point that we have a living document ultimately.
Right.
The key thing that I want to highlight here is once there's an improvement proposal approved, then the Koii Foundation can actually allocate, because the Koii Foundation is a nonprofit, right? Once the improvement proposal is actually voted on by the community, then we will allocate funding, and that goes towards backing developers, also putting up bonus task bounties, and ensuring that anybody who's mining that task or building on that task will be rewarded. And so that's how we go and actually discover what's out there. And this is actually something that happens in most of these decentralized ecosystems, because unfortunately it is pretty much impossible up front to tell you what Koii is possible or what Koii is capable of. I think the short answer would be the entire internet could be rebuilt on Koii. That's why we've designed it this way. So there's not really there are no boundaries. There's only limitations on creativity.
Gotcha. I mean, I don't want to derail this anymore, but I even have a hard time visualizing when you say the entire internet can be rebuilt on Koii. The internet to most of us non-tech person is a Google search window that brings us to uh, handcrafted pages. What do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, I mean, so if that's what the internet is to you, then that's what we mean when we say that the internet could be rebuilt on Koii. So we already have hosting for websites, and we already have the ability to run search. And so either of those things would be great Koii improvement proposals. We want a template that makes it easier to host a website on Koii. We want a template that makes it easier to launch a search type product on Koii. We want ads on Koii, that kind of thing. Any of that can be a Koii improvement proposal. And if you focus on the business side of it, that's probably the easier way. You mentioned this before, that people speak either code or money. So those would be the two avenues, right?
Wow. Okay. Putting it that way, I really get an idea of scope.
Yeah,
That's
it's all
thank
possible,
you.
right? The internet is just a bunch of computers connected by wires. So we have computers and the wires are already there. And so if there's anything that you can imagine that you see on the traditional internet that you'd like to see built, or if there's a shortcoming with the traditional internet, that's where we're here to kind of actually go and fill that need and fill that void. Um, Personally, search is one of the ones I'm the most excited about, which is very interesting. So there's a lot of avenues there. And it looks like, Kris, somebody's actually asking you about your data breach proposal.
Uh, yeah, I addressed that really briefly, saying I don't really know the full potential. Just a way to real time track all that stuff as it happens, validate it through several sources, and keep a repository, and maybe have some additional like user facing features to find your own data on there without giving anything up to the extent that you can do that. I mean, part of my issue with a lot of these a lot of these sites that have come up over the years, has your data been leaked? Well, they require so much data that I know is going to be turned around and sold. So, for the same reason I don't send my genetic code in to be analyzed, I won't use their services because I don't trust the results. So, something that protected anonymity while also had enough information to tell me if mine was part of any data breach, and then maybe more advanced paths down the road was what can you do about it now? And that would be obviously something that the community would be constantly growing and adapting.
Conceptually, I think it sounds like a great idea. I think Marengo said that there's possibly some other similar products floating around, or at least other node running products that might have similar. Or no, I'm actually misreading what he just said. But I do think the data breach thing is a good idea. Overall, I'm noting here that we have only 4 minutes left. Probably actually less because
So,
there's
Avi, I
the
think we should
10:30.
actually respond to what Marango's saying though.
I
So
think
what
okay, go
he's
for it.
what he's proposed here, or what they've proposed here, is the idea that we can run all these different deepin nodes on Koii nodes. What we have seen in the past, Marango, is that the largest blocker to this is that most of these other projects would like to they'd like to keep their node in their node, and they don't want to necessarily have it running on a ton of other systems. Of course, the advantage of Koii is you can get a lot of computers very quickly. And so actually, as a Koii improvement proposal, one of the ones that we've had active for a while is to containerize and run these other nodes on top of a Koii node. And with the launch of Orca, which came out this week, this is actually not a very hard thing to do. And so it's quite feasible now. Any node that has a command line interface can now be run on a Koii node. And that's something that we would really like to see. It's definitely something where, if this is something that you would like to be interested in doing, or it's something that, we can potentially get a group of people around, we would be very happy to try and fund it with grants and try to actually get a team of people working on it. So that's definitely an avenue where we could definitely see some growth, and would really like to see that in a Koii improvement proposal.
VIP node skin looks great. Yes, thanks. Yeah, we're really happy with that too. New projects, new tasks. Yeah, that'd be great, right? I mean, if you guys know about these other nodes that you guys want to run, and you know how to use their CLIs, it's a really great opportunity to try and integrate them into Koi's new Orca containers.
All right, just to clarify though, it's not about knowing how to use the tech there. If it goes into a Koii improvement proposal, we will allocate grant funding to it. So as long as it goes onto that repo, which I linked above, I'll drop it in here again.
Absolutely, right.
As long as it goes into the Koii improvement proposals, we will help you do it. So you don't have to know how to do the tech yourself. You don't have to actually do it yourself. We will allocate funding, and then we will help you find a developer from the ecosystem to help you execute on that. Or better yet, we can use the 24/7 builders, which we now have access to. So nobody needs to be a technical person. It's just what you guys want to do. Whatever you guys want to do with the node, we will allocate funding towards making sure that that happens.
Excellent. So, in other words, no excuses for me to be lazy.
Honestly, no excuses for anybody in this call to not go and make a Koii improvement proposal right now. In fact, actually, if anybody makes one in the next 5 minutes, I'll give you 1,000 Koii right now. So I'm waiting, and I will wait to see if anybody posts them. And if I miss you, send your pull request to Bob Nemis once it's up. The way that you make a Koii improvement proposal is that you have to go in and open an issue on that repo. And as soon as you open an issue on that repo, we will send you some Koii tokens, assuming that you actually don't write gibberish. You have to actually write a serious proposal, but we'd love to see those.
And the way to write an issue is just when you click that link that Al sent right at the top,
Bobby, do
there's
you
a
want to
bar
share your
that'll.
screen?
Sure.
Cool.
Let me open the link. And then share my screen. Come on. Okay, maybe I just share the. Sorry, Discord's giving me issues. Here we go. I believe that's it. So when you open up this page, and I'll give everybody just 10 seconds to open the stream. So you'll come to this page, and at the very top, you'll notice there's code, issues, pull requests, etc. You just want to click the issues button here, and then you want to go to new issue, and then you just want to fill it in and click create. If you don't have a GitHub account, you will need a GitHub account, but you can sign up very quickly. Super easy, usually with Google or something like that. Should take no time at all.
Very nice.
Cool.
Well, we're at the hour. Or are there any other last minute announcements, or are you going to bid us farewell?
Yeah, I believe there's another meeting that we need to jump to. So I'm gonna have to jump away, but yeah, just reiterating, if you make an issue there or a Koii improvement proposal, a KIP, you can get 1,000 Koii if you submit it there in the next 30 minutes. And yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for coming along, guys. And we'll catch you around in the next one.
All right.
Thanks, folks.
Have a good weekend,
Yeah.
everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.